thank you a lot. Thanks a lot for inviting me. Today, I would like to discuss some machine learning applications for computer vision. Am I audible properly?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Slides are visible now?
Yes, sir, they are visible.
Okay, great. So today I would like to discuss some computer vision applications where the machine learning techniques are being used. If we talk about the machine learning, then use of machine learning is not new for the computer vision scientist. Computer vision scientists and researchers are using machine learning, different type of the machine learning algorithms from last 2 decades, approximately from last 2 decades. Basically, they are using machine learning for the object recognition purpose. Main area where the machine learning algorithms are being used in the computer vision is the object recognition purpose. So I would like to talk about the object recognition and semantic segmentation, use of machine learning in object recognition and semantic segmentation. And if the time will permit, then I would like to discuss about the one case study related to face recognition. This will be the outline of the presentation, a brief introduction of the computer vision and machine learning, followed by directly on the object recognition and semantic segmentation, and then a case study. Basically, if we talk about the vision, then vision is defined as to know what is where by looking. This is the standard definition of the vision given by the Marr, a psychologist, means to know what is where by looking. Two important things are there. First thing, where, location of the object, and the second thing is the what, means what object is present at what location. This is answering this question or giving reply to this one is known as the vision. What we do use for the vision, in the vision we recognize objects, means in our surroundings we see a number of the people, number of the things in our surrounding. We locate the object in the space. We can find out which object is present at what location. We track the moving objects like catching a ball or avoiding the collisions with car, and recognizing the actions. These all are the basic things what we are doing in our day-to-day life in the vision. Computer vision is just an inverse process of the computer graphics. In the computer graphics, we convert the word model into a 2D image or the 3D scene, 3D picture. In the computer vision, 2D image or the 3D scene, wherever I am talking about the 3D in the term of the scene, then this means the time is associated with the 2D images, or you can say that the video. So a 2D image or the video, if we convert it into the word model in the three coordinate system, then this is the objective of the computer vision. So computer vision is called as the inverse process of the computer graphics, and computer vision require a lot of image understanding. A lot of image understanding, and as the word understanding is coming, then this means AI is being automatically involved in the understanding process. Learning, if you have to define the learning, then learning is defined in variety of the ways by the educationists, by the researchers, and other people. And normally the learning is just the acquisition of the knowledge or the skills through study, experience, or being taught. This is a common definition of the learning, means acquiring the knowledge or the skills through study, experience, or being taught. If we have to define the machine learning is a branch of the artificial intelligence which concerns the construction and study of the system that can learn from the data. means the learning is the present here over here in the machine learning, means the machine learning is also the acquisition of the knowledge, also the acquisition formation of the rules, etc., through the different examples or through the experiences, through the known facts, through the known knowledge, knowledge present in our surrounding. So machine learning is normally called as, if you provide the data or the output to the computer, and computer can form the certain rules, computer can generate the certain rules, computer can form the certain programs, computer can form the certain you can say programs or rules or anything else, then that is known as the machine learning. In the traditional programming, we provide the data and the program, and computer generates the output. So the machine learning is little bit different, where you give the data and the some data and some known classes, some known examples, some known facts, some known knowledge, and it will generate the certain rules. Computer, as I have already mentioned, that computer vision researchers and computer vision scientists are using the machine learning from more than 2 decades in one or other forms. Sometimes they call it the pattern recognition algorithm, sometimes they call it the data mining algorithm, and many names are there of the different machine learning algorithms which the computer vision scientists are using. But the early computer vision methods tried to model the world without using the training data. This is this is an image from the paper of the 1987, from the paper of the 87, where it has been suggested that for recognizing anything, for identifying anything, it is better to model the object. You can model in form of the geons, you can model in the form of the objectos. These were the names given in this particular paper, where the geons are nothing but the certain cylindrical structure or a part of the you can say cube, or a part of the sphere, or a part of the rectangle. Many things means the some simple models. If some object are being modeled with help of the combination of these geons, then we can analyze the object in the form of the 3D sense. So early computer vision methods were tried to model the world without using the training data. They were not using the training data, but nowadays the computer vision methods are involving the training data, and they form the rule, they form the rules with help of the training data. Vision can be formulated as a learning problem in two respects. One is the classification, and second one is the clustering. These two respects are the you can say popular formulation of the learning problems of the computer vision, either in form of the classification or the clustering. These you already familiar with the basics of the machine learning or in the artificial intelligence. Why we need the machine learning for the computer vision? Machine learning is a core part of the computer vision, and nearly every machine learning algorithm has been used in one way or another in the computer vision application. I'm here mentioning very important point that nearly every machine learning algorithm has been used in one way or another in the computer vision applications. And visual data is the new source for the machine learning scientists, because the visual data is the voluminous in the nature. Images or videos are present in everywhere, and they are the voluminous in the nature, and just for extraction of the some information, classification of the data, identification of something present in the data, we apply the machine learning algorithms. This is about the basics of the computer vision and machine learning. Now I'm directly coming on the point of the discussion, that is the object recognition, followed by the semantic segmentation. Object recognition. Object recognition, as the name suggests, that you have to recognize the object in an image, or you have to recognize the object in a video. Normally you say that this is a car, this is a chair, this is a table, this is mobile phone, human beings, etc. So these are the object. And the question is it really so hard from the computational point? Yes, it is really so hard from the computational point. Although it seems very easy for the human vision, we see effortlessly, we classify, we recognize the objects effortlessly. We even never thought that it required such number of the such lot of computation. But as soon as we go for the computational point, it is a hard problem. For example, if this is given that this is a chair and you have to find out the chair in the image, then how to find that chair is present at this particular position? Normally what we do, we start with matching. A normal procedure or a very crude way of the recognizing that the chair is the present in the scene is chair is present in scene or not. We start the some with the some part and matching it within the scene, and wherever the matching ends, we say that this is the chair. This type of the matching is the performed from the start of the image or start of the scene, and wherever the chair is the found or wherever the features related to the chairs is the found is returned as the chair. Now a simple form of the matching require a correlation, right? Wherever the correlation coefficient, correlation between this particular window and correlation between this particular given sample of the chair is the highest, we call them call that point as a chair. For example, here you can see on the third image the correlation having the highest value at this particular point. So this is the one crude way of the recognizing the object. Now, if you have to find the chair in this image, suppose you have to find the chair in this image, then then such type of the matching will never work, because the shape and the size of the chair present in this image is different from the chair which is given in the given in the example. The shape and size of the chair present in the image is different from the shape and size of the chair given in the example. But correlation will work up to the certain extent. And how this works, let us see that if you try to again form the same windowing, same procedure for computing the correlation between the window and the correlation between the window and the image, then you will find the correlation map something like this. And it is very difficult to here to form the form where the chair is the present until and unless you have the some a priori knowledge. If you have the some a priori knowledge, then for then finding the chair in this scene could be possible. So here the correlation is the pretty much garbage, and simple template matching is not going to make to solve this problem, because many places the correlation having the highest values, and you can see at the some places chair are the present and in other places chairs are not present. So the object recognition is not as simple as it appears. And popular method is that the template matching by the point correlation of the model pattern by the image pattern. These techniques are inadequate for the three-dimensional scene analysis for many reasons, because the occlusions can be present, change in the viewing angle can be present, and articulation of the part is present. Here you can see the chair is occluded. Two chairs are the present in the scene. One is this one and second one is this one. Third one is this one. Three chairs are the present in the scene. Their part is being occluded by the some other object. Their viewing angle is different. Here you are looking the chair from the front side, but here you are looking the chair from the back side or from the certain another view, and here you are looking the chair from a part. So due to the presence of these occlusion, change in the viewing angle and some articulation of the parts, it is very difficult to perform the template matching or template based matching for identification of the object. So after that, people move to make the problem simpler by using the block word. that why we do not make the certain model, certain mathematical model. Where the mathematical model of the chair could be that there are the four legs, there could be the one flat surface and one surface which is just at the 90° to that particular flat surface, and the four legs are present in the flat surface which is just you can say parallel to floor. So why we do not make the different models of the objects present in the real world? Yes, it have given again the good results than the template matching, and but it involve a lot of mathematics, and it is very difficult to model. It is very difficult to model for each and every object. And if there is some change in the model, then it is very difficult to recognize the things. This framework is good, and this framework is the basic of the framework for identification of the features or for the matching. But it requires a lot of computations, and making the model is the very difficult for many cases. Then next suggestion is why we do not make the generalized cylinders. Means for some object we try to make the certain generalized cylinders. For example, if this is the human being, then we can model the human beings in form of the certain generalized cylinders, you can say circular type of the shape structures, right? So different types of the generalized cylinders has been given in the literature, like the cross section, sweeping rule, true cylinder, and some other generalized type of the cylinders, and trying to make the model of the 3D object by these generalized cylinders. But this have given the better result than the template based matching and the simple block model based matching, but it again require a lot of computations. So then people move towards the recognition by the components. And here what we do means the fundamental assumption of the recognition by the component theory is that modest set of the generalized cone component, which are known as the geons, can be derived from contrast of 5 readily detectable properties of the edges in two-dimensional range. 5 properties: curvature, collinearity, symmetry, parallelism, and contortion. If we consider these 5 properties of the edges which are present in the two-dimensional image, and try to match them with the early created geons, right? Try to match with the early created geons, which I have shown you in the very beginning, which was the very early suggestion. This type of the models is known as the geons. So if we try to create the models, and then consider the 5 detectable properties of the edges present in the two-dimensional images: curvature, collinearity, similarity, parallelism, and contortion, and then match the things, then that could give the certain that could also recognize the objects present in the scene. So the hypothesis in this theory is that there is a small number of the geometric component that constitute the primitive element of the object recognition system. There could be the certain basic number of the geometric component. Those components could be your cylinder. Those components could be your certain you can say rectangular shape, or it's a 3D version, and certain circular shape, or it's a 3D version like a sphere, etc. So these geometric component, these primitive element, are working like letters to form the word. They are working like basic of the object recognition system, and the particular properties of the edges that are postulated to be relevant to the generation of the volumetric primitives have two desirable properties, that they are invariant over the change in the orientation and can be determined from just few points on the edges. This is the important postulate of this particular object recognition system, is the properties of those volumetric primitive, those basic primitives are normally invariant in the changes in the orientation, and you can determine those things with help of the few points. For example, if you have to define the cylinder, then you need to you need to define its radius and its height. If you have to define the certain circle, you need to define its radius. So very few points can determine these objects. And the limitation of this particular modeling is the modeling has been limited to concrete entities with specified boundaries. And this limitation is shared by many modern object detection algorithms. So this is a block diagram of stages of the pre-processing for the object detection. Find out the edges just for the image processing perspective, just from the basic of the computer vision perspective. Find out the edges in the image, find out the edges in the scene. Then after edge detection, detect the non-accidental properties and parse the reason for the concavity, right? And then determination of the component. Here the object recognition is the important. As good determination of the component is being performed, the good object detection will be the performed. And after determination of the component, matching of the component for the object representation, and then finally the object identification can be performed. So these are the basic components, basic stages for any object recognition process. So for the first thing is the representation of the object. Object can be represented as a set of the parts, means we can go for the generative representation, and then for the classification, the generative representation can be converted into the discriminative representation. So the objects as a set of the part can be represented as the generative representation. I will show you the difference between the generative representation and the discriminative representation just after a few slides. And then we create a model. Model will give you the relative location between the different parts. For example, this is please, someone is speaking, please.
Sir, I'll mute him. I'll mute.
Okay, thank you. So this is a face, and the face have the various components: hairs, two eyes, nose, mouth, left part of the face, right part of the face. So the relative location between the parts. If we talk about the relative location between the hair and the left edge, or the and its ratio with the location of the two eyes, the you can say distance between the two eye and the distance between the eye to nose, etc. Then in most of cases, in most of human being, this ratio is approximately same. Or even if it is not same, then it varies in the certain range. It is not possible that that the eye to eye distance and eye to nose distance vary in the ratio of the 1:10 for the human being. It always vary in the ratio of around the 1:2 or 1:1.5, something like this. I have not counted, but the ratio is something like this. The ratio could not be absurd. So basically, once we are representing the object as the set of the part, then relative location between the parts and the appearance of the part will create the model. Now the issues in this representation is how to model the location. The first thing is how to model the location and how to represent the appearance. we represent the sparse representation or the dense representation, how to handle the occlusion, etc. So these are the some of the basic issues. Just by with help of the very simple example of the object detector, I will show you that how the machine learning is being involved in this particular classification problem. Means here you have to identify the face. Here you have to identify the face. You have to represent the object in form of the generative representation. Generative representation means actual faces, right? And it would be the converted into the discriminative representation. Discriminative representation will give you the certain rules. Means with help of the rules or with help of the models, these words could be the used exchangeably, right? Because every time it is not necessary that in every literature, on every paper, everywhere it is known as the rule. Somewhere it is called as the you can say certain model or the certain other type of the thing. So please do not think that once we are I'm saying that the rule, then this means the rule, but this could be the certain model. So if you have to means a simple, you have to develop a simple object detector. If you have to classify this particular problem, if you have to take this as a classification problem, then the one class could be this one, the blue one, and another class could be the represented as the red dots. And this classification seems very simple, but for the classification, for the once we are going to form the rules, then the formation of the rules for this classification is little bit complicated. Little bit, you can say, involve the computations. If we involve the certain, if we are interested to classify the things, or if we are interested to detect the things with help of the basic element, basic element could be the linear classifier, means a simple line which is being classified. So if we try to consider about the basic elements for the for detection of the two objects present in the scene, then boosting technique can the boosting technique is the one of the machine learning technique where you have to combine the different weak learners at one place to make them as the strong learner. So based on the boosting technique makes all the stages of the training and testing easy to understand. This is the difference between the generative and discriminative model. This is the generative model is the artist impression. This is a zebra, and you have to classify the object with help of the data. It is the zebra, and you have to certain known examples which are not the class of the zebra. And with help of the data of the class of the non-zebra, you have to say you have to find out when this is the non-zebra. Means you have the two sets of the images. One is the set of the zebra, and another is one is the set of the no zebra. And with help of the data present in those images, data could be your in the simplest form, data could be your pixel value. In other you can say advanced form, data could be your features present in the image. Now features could be that another issue of the discussion, right? Feature could be the another issue of the discussion, and as good features we have, the good classification is there, and features would be selected based on the applications which we are using. So based on this particular generative model, this model is known as the generative model. We can form the discriminative models. Means with known data, what is the probability of the zebra? Means if the data is in the say in this range, I'm not saying that what this particular data is the representing. This could be the different meaning, right? But we can say that if the certain feature values or if the certain data values belong to the certain range, then probability of the zebra is there. And if the data value or the feature value is belonging to the another range, then probability of the no zebra is there. This model is known as the discriminative model. For example, here you can say that this particular is the zebra and this particular is the not a zebra. So this is the discriminative model, and once the discriminative model is being formed with help of the generative model, once the discriminative model can be formed with help of the generative model, then the classification is very easy. And suppose it is so easy as shown in the graph, then classification is nothing but the nothing but like a threshold. Every time it is not like a threshold, but you can say every time it is in the certain range. But the main thing what I want to focus at this particular point, that once you find the certain discriminative model for the objects in the scene, then classification function can be obtained with help of the discriminative model. So there are the three stages. Generative model is known to us. With help of the generative model, with help of the features, with help of the data, with help of the certain advanced feature, we have to convert it into the certain probabilistic or the discriminative model, and then a classification function can be obtained. This is about the discriminative methods. Object detection or recognition is formulated as a classification problem. The image is partitioned into set of overlapping windows. For example, where are the screens? If you have to answer the question that where are the computer screens in this particular image, you can partition the image into the set of the overlapping windows. These set of the windows are the overlapping in the nature, and then in some feature space, feature could be the variety of the features, and feature could be a different area of the discussion. But with help of the feature, in that feature space, the some decision boundary can be formed, which can separate the background from the actual computer screen. So here the object classification is just forming that particular decision boundary, means that formation of the decision boundary in the feature space is the objective of the object classification. Now, for these discriminative methods, for forming this particular decision boundaries, mostly all the machine learning algorithms are being applicable. You can use the nearest neighborhood, you can use the support vector machine, you can use the conditional random fields, you can use the neural networks, deep learning, etc. Means in the machine learning, whatever techniques you have discussed, whatever techniques you are knowing, those techniques can be used for the classification, for forming this particular type of the decision boundary in the feature space. Here just I want to mention that earlier, as I have shown you in the from the very historical aspect, that where some mathematical models are being formed, and with help of the mathematical model, the template based matching, etc. we perform. So in that case, you can say that the decision tree, which is the simplest type of the machine learning techniques which you know, is being used over there, right? Simplest decision tree type of the things was used at that time. But nowadays, you can go up to the deep learning type of the techniques. In the deep learning is again another area of the discussion. And I know that you have already some lectures of the on the deep learning related with the image classification or the object recognition. But the thing is, in the deep learning, we do not at present people are working in that area, and that area of the research is also very interesting and challenging. But still, we are not able to identify what features or what kind of the features are being transferred from the one set of the layer to another set of the layers in its mathematical forms. We know that this kind of the features are being transferred from the one layer to another layer, but is that that way of the transformation have the certain mathematical background or certain mathematical formulation? If we change the training data, then according to that mathematical formulation or mathematical foundation, how the features transferred is being changing, it is still unknown. But anyway, those methods are working very well. So I am not going on the deep learning in today's talk, but if you have any question, you can ask related to deep learning as well. I'm able to answer if I will be knowing. So basically what I want to mention here, that mostly all machine learning classifiers are being used for the classification purpose, like the nearest neighbor, support vector machine, conditional random field, etc. So let us come on the formulation. Means suppose we have to perform the binary classification, means the screen is the computer screen or some other object. Then we can say that the features, some features can be extracted from the known images or known patches, known small patches, and we can get label them. If that is the computer screen, level 1, and if that is not a computer screen, level -1. So it is being converted into a classification problem. Means we have to find out we have to find out the certain functions which can classify the things with minimization in the misclassification error. Means the misclassification error should be the minimized, so that so that you can accurately classify the test data. Now in this classification, for the computer vision perspective, especially for the perspective of the computer vision, there are the various classifiers available in the machine learning. But let me to start with the very simplest one and very powerful one, is the boosting technique. And boosting provides the efficient algorithm for the sparse visual feature extraction. And there were the two papers by the Viola and Jones in year 2000 to 2004 and the 5. These two are the written over here, 2000 and 2003 papers. They were, you can say, a change in the direction of the research in the object recognition or the object classification, where they have suggested that the boosting techniques, by boosting the certain classifiers, we can easily classify, we can easily recognize the objects. These boosting techniques are easy to implement and does not require any external optimization tools. Boosting classifier can be defined as an additive model. Means a strong classifier effects can be made with help of the combination of the various weak classifier. If we have the various weak classifiers, then weighted sum of various weak classifiers can constitute a strong classifier. How this is being happening, I will show you after a few slides. And this is defined as a classifier using additive model. And we need to define a family of the weak classifiers. Means you have to identify the weak classifiers. And in image processing and in computer vision, identification of the weak classifier is easy. Identification of weak classifier is easy. I'm again repeating this statement because there are the different features which are available to us, are capable to identify, are capable to classify the objects, are capable to classify the scenes in its weak form, right? So weak classifiers are abundant in the nature, and a number of the weak classifiers are available as. How the boosting is performed, let us try to see it, and this will give an idea about the boosting. Suppose there are the two classes present in the scene, represented by the red and the violet. Each data point have the class level +1 and the -1. A weak classifier can be formed if you are taking a random classifier. Then you can say that a simple straight line is there, right? And half is on one side, half is on another side. This is the one of the weakest classifier. But if you adjust little bit that particular weak classifier, then this particular dark strong black line can be taken as a weak classifier, where on the one side most of the red dots are the present, on another side the violet and the red dots combinations are the present. So one weak classifier is this particular line. Similarly, we can form another weak classifier which will give you the another boundary, like this one, this line is another weak classifier. In the remaining data, this is giving you the another boundary, means on the one side red dots are the present, on another side most of the violet dots are the present. Then you again try to form another weak classifier. Suppose here with help of these two weak classifiers, we are capable to classify the most of the red data of both sides. Then another weak classifier can be formed, and this is being classifying these red data. Then you can form another weak classifier, something like this, and entire data is being classified. So with help of the four weak classifiers are just the lines. Lines are treated as the most weak classifier in the pattern recognition or the machine learning examples, right? So four weak classifiers collectively constitute a strong classifier. So this is how the boosting is being performed. How the weak classifiers are being combined to make them as a strong classifier. If we know if you want to give the weightage to these F1, F2, F3 and F4 weak classifiers, then we can associate some weights with the weak classifier and get the strong classifier. So in the boosting, the different cost function and minimization algorithms algorithm result in various flavors of the boosting. Boostings can be of the various types. And in the boosting, the objective is to minimize the exponential loss function. Exponential loss function can be defined like this. And exponential loss function is normally used for the binary classification problem a lot. Means it changes like a exponential function, and as the negative value comes, then it changes a lot. Therefore, the exponential loss function is used for the such type of the classification problem. And if we try to minimize the exponential loss function, and exponential loss function can be defined like this: if we are capable to form the various weak classifiers, then combination of the weak classifiers would be taken in the sequence, so would be taken collectively, so that the exponential loss function is being minimized. This is the main task of the boosting. So boosting is a sequential procedure, and at each step we add some weak classifier, some FMX. The previous fx is added with the some FMX, and at each stage we need to minimize the residual loss function. This one is the loss function, and this should be the minimize, and at each step we add the certain classifier over there. So gentle boosting is just at each stage we add the certain boosting one. And there are the various optimization methods for minimization of the errors, and I hope that some of those methods you have already gone through in this course or previously, like the expansion of the Taylor series, gradient descent method, etc. So these are the some popular types of the boosting, like EDA boost, real EDA boost, logic boost, gentle EDA boost, Brown boosting, float boost, and so on. Right? The research have not ended in area of the development of the effective boosting function for certain class of the problems. So now let us talk a little bit about the weak detectors. From images to features, we will now define a family of the visual features that can be used as the weak classifiers. Means we have to identify the weak classifier. What are the features which can be used as a weak classifier? So means here if you have to identify the chair with help of the smaller patches, means with help of the small part, if you have to identify that the object is chair or not. For example, if you have to find a chair in this image with help of the legs of the chair, then in this image, in the given image, you will find out where the legs are the present. And even this one is giving the better result than this particular correlation. In the correlation where the template matching is being performed and correlation is being computed, then the result is something like this. And even if you are doing the part based matching with help of the part of the chair, then little bit good result, little bit I'm not saying that the perfect one, but results are not so bad as they were in the case of the template matching. So weak detectors, there are the various weak detectors has been proposed in the computer vision literature. For example, the textures of the texture in the CVPR Voila have proposed one of the first paper to use the boosting for the vision, where every combination of these three filters generate the different types of the features, and those different features, different combination of the features, different type of the features can give you the different sorry these every combination of these three filters generate the different features. Means you can take the various combination of these three filters, and combination of these three filters generate the different other filters, and those filters give you the different features of the images. So this was the one of the revolutionary paper in the in area of the object recognition. And HAR filters has also been used. HAR wavelet transform has also been used as the weak feature descriptor, weak feature descriptor. HAR wavelet is also used if you are going on the higher order wavelets, then the features are being accurately being detected, but HAR is the simplest one, and you can say it does not require much more computations. Edge fragments, we can form the edge fragments, means the features associated with the edge informations, the different fragments of the edges can be obtained. Now interesting thing is here in the how do we identify that what are the basic edge fragments. It is again a challenging question, and it has never been answered perfectly that what should be the basic edge fragments. But depending on the different applications, different literatures have suggested that that some basic set of the edge fragments which could be used as the feature descriptor, which could be used as the weak feature descriptors. So edge fragments can also be used. Histogram of oriented gradient. This is a good local feature descriptor. Good local feature descriptor. Here we can find out the oriented gradients of the certain object, and histogram of that particular oriented gradient will give the feature information. This is the local feature descriptor, and this have given the very good results in the in object recognition. So weak detectors are normally being selected as part based detector, because the part based weak detectors, if we identify, or if we identify the different weak detectors for different part of the object and then combine them to form the strong detector, then that could be the effective rather than weak detector of the entire object, right? So the different part of the object So different part of the object, different part of the object can be combined together as a weak part-based weak detectors can be used. Part-based weak detector can be used, and they can make the strong detector. For one example of the part-based weak detector is, firstly we collect the set of the part template from the set of the training object. Suppose some training object has been given to you, you can collect the part template from this particular training object. These four are the different part template of this object, and then you define then we define the family of the weak detectors, and the family of the weak detectors can be defined something like the you can say this image with this particular part, right? This is highlighting this particular part of the image, and by this particular operator, this particular generalized multiplication operator, the some weak detector can be formed. So the weak detector can be formed in better way if we use the filtered image. Means if we take the high pass filter image of the original image and then apply the weak detector, then they normally gives the better representation of the image rather than unfiltered image. Here the image is the unfiltered image and the weak detector is being applied, and the result is something like here. And if we take the filtered image, means high pass filtered image, and the weak detector is applied over here, then result is something like this, which is giving you the more information in the image than previous one. So in this way the n number of the weak detectors can be detected detected in an image, and then we evaluate all the n features for all the training images, and then we sample the feature output on the object center and at the random location in the background. Means the training is being performed with help of n features. The training is being performed and the object is being represented. This is something like this. If you are selecting the some features, selected features for the screen detector is, suppose three features are selected by the screen for the screen detector. They are giving some information like this, and if we add the more features for the detectors, then better information is being obtained. So this is how the car is being detected. The slide is showing you how the car is being detected. Means 100 feature descriptors, 100 features are being selected over there, and a car is being described. This is just the example for the screen detector. Means here the image is there, and the feature output is something like this, and thresholded output is something like this, and this is forming the strong classifier. And you can make the different classifiers and then combine those features, and then one strong classifier can be obtained after the certain number of the iteration, and that strong classifier perform better in the classification. So this is about the object classification by this boosting method. And once the object is being classified, then classification is perfect or not can be evaluated based on the various measures. I'm not going in details of these methods. You can go for the ROC, precision recall, accuracy, etc. Yes. Next one is the probabilistic interpretation. Probabilistic interpretation. Sorry. Probabilistic interpretation. Here we have given a generative model. Means the features are being given to us and the object class has been given to us. we need to find the discriminative means the boosting model. Boosting is the fitting of the additive logistic regression model, and boosting provides the great flexibility. And boosting is difficult to beat by the current generative model. No generative model for the object classification exists which can beat the boosting methods. But boosting have also a danger of not understanding what are they really doing. Means we are not knowing that how the boosting is being performing the things. So this is the weak discriminator. Means one weak discriminator can be formed like this, right? This is the image. This is the feature of the image multiplied by the features of the image, giving you the certain, you can say, features of the image, and par template of that feature is being selected. Par template of that feature is being selected, and this is the relative position with respect to the object center. Means the position of that particular part which we are going to select with respect to the object center. This is giving you the function h. So this is how the boosting model can be performed. And here the exponential function, logistic regression function is used. You know it very well that it is giving you the better in term of the binary classification problems. So next one is the sharing of features. Normally we perform the classification with help of the one or more features, and we combine the features without knowing anything. This is the one of the recent research which has been just, you can say, 2 or 3 years back research, where the features where the idea is the sharing of the features. Means we can identify the various features of the same image, and share those features, and try to classify the objects with help of the shared features. Share feature across the object, automatically selecting the best sharing pattern. Benefits of the shared feature is its efficiency, accuracy, and generalization ability. Different objects are the present, and they have the different features, and we try to share the features across the object. Means different objects are the present, they have the different features, and we try to share the features across the object for the classification. This is the one of the recent idea of for the better classification, better form of the classification. How this is this? So suppose this is one object, a circle object has been shown over here. This have various features. For example, you can say that if some sphere is the present over there, you can take the one weak learner or weak classifier on the top side. Second one is like this. Okay. Third one is on second dimension, and fourth one is on the third dimension. So overall the 6 planes are enclosing this particular circles. So these this particular sphere. So these 6 planes are working like the 6 weak classifiers. These 6 planes are working like the 6 weak classifiers. If we have the 4 objects, some objects are located in the space something like this. Then we have the total number of the hyperplane, or total number of the features are the 4 into 6. For one object there are the for one object there are the 6 features. For one object there are the 6 features. So there are the 24 features, 24 features in overall for describing for all these 4 objects. If we know that objects are present in the space, and we try to share these features with objects. Suppose these 4 objects are like this. In one plane approximately 3 objects are present in one plane, right? I'm not saying that these 3 objects are present in the same plane, but the distance of the plane with these 3 objects are are small ones. This particular plane is working like a weak classifier for these three objects. Ultimately, this can say that these three objects can be described by this particular plane. These three weak classifiers can be this particular weak classifier can describe this particular these three objects. Another plane can also be formed on another site, just to you can say describing the three spheres on between the two planes. So these two are the features. These two are the weak learners or weak features which are being shared by the three objects. Similarly, if we are saying that these three objects are present in the one plane, then two planes are being required to describe these three objects. Similarly, if suppose these three objects are present in the another plane, say XYZ plane, then you can say that these three these two hyperplanes are being used to describe these particular four objects. So ultimately there are the similarly two more hyperplanes are being used for describing these three objects. So overall, I can say that there are the 8 hyperplanes which are being describing the object. Total number of the shared hyperplanes, shared features are the 8. So nowadays the idea is to sharing the features, and note that if we are sharing the features, then we can share the features which are the similar in the nature. We cannot share the features which are dissimilar in the nature. You can share only the only the one type of the features, or in other words, you can say you can share only the one type of the features. So this is how the sharing the features is performed. This is the one example where the sharing is being performed. Suppose there are the three objects R, B, and 3. There are the three objects. If we are forming the trying to form the share feature between the R and 3, then the shared feature between the R and 3 is this portion. Share feature between the R and B, then share feature between the R and B is this portion. Share feature between the B and 3 is this particular portion. So these three features are known as the shared features. These three features are known as the shared features. And if you are capable to find the shared feature between the objects, then shared features can better represent the object for the classification. Objects for the classification. So at the algorithmic level, variation of the boosting that allows for the sharing in the natural way, right? You can apply the variations on the boosting in the same way as you are doing for the sharing features. Means sharing features are giving you just a way of the computation of the features, and they can also give you the information about the weak learner. Simple feature sharing is in form of the additive model, where we have the two features, and we simply add up them. We simply perform the sharing by the adding of those two or more number of the features. And again, the joint means the boosting can be done means exponential multi-class cost function is used, as in the case of the binary classification, means the minimization of this particular cost function. So this is about how the shared feature is responsible for object identification. Now, next thing is what makes the good features. Good features depends on whether we are doing single class or multi-class detection, right? Normally, they depends on whether we are doing the single class or multi-class features. And convolutional neural network, deep learning based methods are also capable to identifying the very good features inherent in the image or video. But the problem with the deep learning is I'm again saying this word. is mathematical formation is still not up to the stage, so that we can say that if we change the input, suppose we are training a particular data set with help of the 10,000 images of one category, and the sum weights has been obtained. And if we train the same network is starting with another 10,000 images which are different from the original, then different weights could be obtained. There is no mathematical theory how the things are being there. Actually the mathematical theory is there, but the way how the things are being changing is not in the control way, or not in the way how they are being transferred from the one layer to another layer. This is the thing, but the neural network based classification methods have given very good results than the normal statistical classifiers. And this particular idea of multi-layer neural network, or the idea of the deep learning is again not new. This is more than the you can say 2 or 3 decade old. I think after 2000, around 2000, but earlier we do not have the good computation machines, so these experiments could not be performed over there. So so this is all about the object classification. Now I am coming on the second part, that is the semantic segmentation. A very brief about the semantic segmentation. Um, the image segmentation is the grouping the pixels into the region that share the some similar properties. This is known as the image segmentation. And segmenting the image into meaningful objects, segmenting the images into the meaningful object is known as the object level segmentation, which can accurately localize and recognize the object. Semantic segmentation is level every pixel. Once you are segmented the image, then if you are capable to level the pixel, means recognize the class of the every pixel, then that is known as the semantic segmentation. Do not differentiate the instances. Semantic segmentation do not differentiate between the instances, different instances. Means the one chair is some one shape and another chair is of the another shape, then the chairs have the different instances. Good semantic segmentation methods should not differentiate between the different instances, means every instance should be called as a chair. So this is known as the semantic segmentation. And as I have mentioned just few minutes back, that deep learning based methods have given the good results for the very for the problem. And this is the one of the challenging problem of the computer vision, which was I can say which was not much solved before the deep learning type of the classifier, deep learning type of the methods. Statistical methods by using the statistical method, the semantic segmentation is very difficult, because for every time you have to use you have to use with the various features. Different chairs have the different features. And suppose some new chair will come which do not belong to the category of the earlier known chair, then it is very difficult to classify if the number of the objects are the too large. If the number of the objects are the too large. So, the CNN based classifiers have performed very well in case of the semantic segmentation. And as we are doing in the convolutional neural network, means extract the patch of the image. For example, if you have to classify that this is a dog and this is the cat, both looks like same, extract the patches, run through CNN trained image classification system. Once you have trained the image classification system, then just run the image through that CNN system, and it will give you the information that it is a cat. This is the one of the method which has been being proposed by which is the paper title is fully convolutional network for the semantic segmentation. A classification network CNN has been formed for the semantic image segmentation. I'm not going in the detail, but a typical architecture which is proposed in this particular paper, the architecture CNN architecture proposed in this particular paper is 4 stages. One is the downsampling path, means extract the coarse feature. Next one is the upsampling path, recovers the input image resolution. Downsampling means extracting it into the coarse feature, and then upsampling means recovering the input image resolution. Then skip the different connections, right? Skipping of the connections is also being made in the deep networks, so that the deep networks weights could be the trained more efficiently, right? Many times it happens that once you have trained the network, then some random connections are being selected, and they are being skipped over there, skipped, right? So that so that with the remaining connections the network can be trained efficiently, right, and effectively. So so third one is the skipping the certain connections, and the fourth one is the certain post processing step which can refines the prediction CRF. There are the other semantic segmentation architectures exist in the literature. These are the basic architecture, and nowadays people are still working in area of the semantic segmentation, and most of the architectures, most of the papers which are available related to the semantic segmentation involving the deep neural networks, deep learning systems, have the little bit variations from these basic architectures, right? So this is how the semantic segmentation is performed using the machine learning. And the semantic segmentation, it is I don't know that how many of you can visualize that this problem is difficult or not, but believe me that this problem was very difficult, and this problem is still difficult if we are trying to identify the object, or trying to segment the object with help of the statistical properties, statistical features. Next one is the instance segmentation. Detect instances, categorize and level every pixel, and these levels are class aware and instance aware, means the different classes and different instances of the classes. These levels should be the same. Again, the CNN have given the very good results for the instance segmentation. And one network architecture with the ResNet is which is the multiple little bit change with the ResNet, right? Is proposed, which can give you the very good results of the instance segmentation. So this is about the instance segmentation, how the machine learning technique is involved for the instance segmentation. Object classification and this semantic segmentation are the two challenging problems where the machine learning techniques are being applied in the computer vision. Also the computer vision have many other problems where the machine learning techniques being applied, but they are people can say them as the different problem, but I would prefer to say that those problems are nothing but the little bit variation of the object recognition or the segmentation type of the problems which are solved by the machine learning techniques. So in my view, these two are the basic problems of the computer vision where the machine learning techniques is being employed. So next one is the in very quick way, I would like to talk about the face detection and recognition, some machine learning systems about the face recognition and detection. Detection of the face in the grayscale images can be generally the algorithms are of the 4 types: knowledge based, feature based, template based, and appearance based. The machine learning comes, the learning comes in the role in the appearance based system. Now let us talk about what are these. I'm just skipping these all. Knowledge-based methods, knowledge-based approach are the top-down approach. They represent the face using a set of human coded rules. For example, if you have coded that that these two are the eyes, the distance between the eyes is something like this, the distance between the eye to nose is like this, the ratio between the between the distance between two eyes and distance between the eyes and nose and distance between the eyes and the lips is of the ratio like this. So if you have coded the rules, if the human coded rules are like this, then those methods are known as the knowledge based methods. Feature based methods are just the bottom up approach, means detect the facial features, means detect the eyes, nose, mouth, etc. Identify the facial features. Facial features could be of the different types: edge, intensity, shape, texture, color, movement, different frequency transform, etc. So identify the features and then try to match some new face with help of the known features. So this is the feature based method. Next one is the template based matching, as I have already mentioned in my very beginning, that store the template, some predefined template, and then match with the template. So next one is the appearance based method. In the appearance based method, we train a classifier using the positive and negative example of the faces. Again, a classifier is used over here using the positive and negative example of the faces. And for this, we need to represent the face. We need to perform the certain pre-processing of the face. Then we need to train the classifier and search, and then the certain post-processing is being applied over here. These are the some of the classifiers which are being used for the face recognition system: neural network, principal component analysis, SVM, mixture of the PCA, factor analysis, mixture of the PCA with movements, distribution based method, base classifier, HMM, etc. Means basically what I want to say, that almost all the classifiers which you are using in the you are knowing or you are using in the machine learning techniques are used for the face detection systems. And for representation of the face, there are the two approaches. One is the holistic approach and second one is the block based approach. In the holistic approach, the image is the raster scan, means the image, every pixel value is represented, every pixel value is stored. In the block based, we decompose the face into a set of the overlapping or non-overlapping block at multiple scales, right? And we process the image with only a block, right? We do not process the image entirely, but we process the whole image at one shot, but we process the image in every block. So SVM can be used for the classification, as it is used in the SVM as in the normal way can be used for the classification purpose. And SVM classifier for the SVM based face detector have the good recognition rate with theoretical support, and its disadvantage is it is time consuming in training and testing, and it need to pick the right kernel. It is very difficult to find out the right kernel for the face recognition system. The issues with the SVM based face recognition system is in the testing, the number of the support vector may be large. In training, we need to solve the complex quadratic optimization problem. So there are the variants of the SVM has also been proposed in the literature. Next one is the AdaBoost based detector, means the boosting classifier is also used for the face recognition system, as they have been used for the object recognition. Cascading type of the cascading of the classifier are giving the better result a better result than a normal simple classifier. Means if you have the various classifiers, then if you just cascade the classifier using the AdaBoost, means learn and ensemble from the weak classifier, which I have already mentioned, means boosting different classifiers, combining them and getting the one strong classifier that have given the good result for the face recognition system. So these are the some of the results. I'm not going in the details of this. In the nutshell, the advantage of the appearance based method is it is the powerful machine learning algorithm given the good empirical result, and this is the fast and robust. This extended to detect the face in different pose and orientation. And the drawback of appearance based method is usually need to search over the space and scale. It needs a lot of positive and negative example and limited view approach. Here the deep learning based methods has also been used, and they have also given the very good results than the normal statistical face recognition system. Nowadays people think that face recognition is a solved problem because there are the many devices exist where the face recognition systems are available. Even in our mobile phones, the mobile phones or laptops are opening with help of recognizing the face, but still that have the various challenges with the variation view variant face recognition. So this